Ladies and gentlemen, let me begin with a truth so sharp it could cut steel. Most people are wandering aimlessly through life, not because they lack ability, but because they lack a burning sense of purpose. Now imagine this. What if I told you that you were chosen, that you and you alone were selected by a higher power, not by accident, not by fate, but by divine appointment, to fulfill a mission only you can accomplish? That's right, act as if you were on a mission from God, because in truth, you are. When I say God, I speak not merely of religion, I speak of infinite intelligence. Most individuals go through life feeling stuck, lost, or uncertain, not because they lack intelligence, talent, or opportunity, but because they haven't identified a purpose that fuels them. Purpose is the unseen force that gives shape to our ambitions and direction to our steps. Without it, even the most gifted person can become aimless, overwhelmed by distraction, or pulled off course by fear and doubt. But when you begin to act as if you're on a mission from God, you create a powerful internal shift. You stop waiting for life to happen and start stepping into each day with intention, the belief that you are here for a reason, even if you don't fully understand it yet, ignites something inside you. It brings clarity to your actions, because now everything you do becomes a step towards something greater. You stop seeing your work, your challenges, or your struggles as random events. Instead, they become training grounds, proving grounds, and essential components of your growth. Purpose doesn't always announce itself with a lightning bolt. Sometimes it's uncovered slowly through action and commitment. But the key is to begin by choosing to believe that your life matters deeply, that your presence is not a coincidence, and that your unique skills, voice, and perspective were meant to serve a higher intention. When that belief becomes your mindset, you operate on a higher frequency. You start to attract the right people, see opportunities more clearly, and withstand obstacles with greater resilience. Suddenly, setbacks don't feel like the end, they feel like part of the mission. And that mission, real or imagined, gives you strength, focus, and courage that no external motivation can match. In truth, acting as if you're on a divine mission might be the very thing that leads you to discover what your true mission really is. When you assume that your life carries a higher calling, everything changes. It's not about waiting for a divine message or supernatural sign. It's about deciding right now that your existence matters and that your actions have weight beyond the ordinary. By choosing to act as if you've been sent on a mission from God, you immediately elevate your standard of living. You begin to treat your time, your work, and your relationships with a deeper sense of importance. You're no longer simply going through the motions. You're fulfilling a sacred task, and that awareness fuels discipline, passion, and courage. This mindset shift does not require any external validation. You don't need someone else to confirm your calling. You simply claim it. That choice alone gives you power. It awakens parts of you that routine living suppresses. You speak with more conviction because your words are no longer idle. You work with more urgency because your days are no longer random. You carry yourself with dignity because your life is guided by meaning. When you believe you're on a higher mission, you're no longer easily distracted. Petty arguments, shallow pursuits, and short-term gratification lose their pull. You begin to prioritize long-term growth, impact, and service. That clarity of purpose makes you unstoppable. Not because obstacles disappear, but because they pale in comparison to the greatness of the mission you've accepted. And even if you don't yet know the full scope of your purpose, acting as if you're already on assignment gives your journey shape. It becomes the very force that draws your true mission into focus. Great people throughout history did not wait to be told they were chosen. They decided they were. And in doing so, they became the vessels for transformation. So can you. All it takes is the decision to live like you are meant for something more. Fear is the silent killer of dreams. It creeps into our minds dressed as caution, disguised as logic, whispering that we are not ready, not good enough, or that failure is too risky to face. But fear only thrives where faith is absent. The moment you begin to act as if you're on a mission from God, fear loses its grip. You stop operating from a place of doubt and start moving with confidence, not because everything is certain, but because your belief is stronger than your uncertainty. Faith is not blind hope. It is a conscious decision to trust in something greater than your current circumstances. When you act as though you're guided by a divine purpose, challenges become opportunities to grow, not threats to your survival. You face rejection, loss, or hardship with the quiet understanding that they are not the end of the road. They are simply part of the process. This kind of faith does not remove the obstacles. It gives you the strength to rise above them. Living with the belief that you are backed by a higher power creates inner peace. You no longer feel the need to control every outcome because you trust that your efforts are being supported by something beyond what you can see. That trust fuels resilience. It pushes you to take bold action where others hesitate. It allows you to keep going when progress is slow, knowing that the mission is bigger than one moment, one setback, or one failure. Every visionary who ever changed the world did so by choosing faith over fear. They acted as though success was not a question, it was inevitable, because they were aligned with something greater. You too have access to that strength. It begins the moment you choose to believe that you are never walking alone. When your thoughts, actions, and habits align with a greater purpose, you begin to unlock a level of power and influence that most people never tap into. Alignment creates clarity. It strips away the noise and distractions that usually derail ambition and replaces them with a focus-driven mindset. You no longer waste energy on decisions that don't support your mission because everything you do is filtered through the lens of purpose. This alignment becomes the foundation of your authority, not authority over others, but over your own life, over your time, and over your results. People who operate from alignment are magnetic. They don't have to shout to be heard or force their ideas to be accepted. Their conviction speaks louder than their words. When your internal beliefs support your external behavior, people naturally sense that you are serious, trustworthy, and committed. That's because your life starts to carry a certain rhythm, a consistency of intention and effort that earns respect. And once people see that you stand for something, they begin to follow your lead. Habits are the building blocks of this process. The small daily disciplines you practice when no one is watching are what determine whether your life is truly aligned or not. It's not enough to say you're on a mission. You must live like it. When your habits mirror your higher calling, your results begin to change. You become more productive, more intentional, and more powerful in your decisions. This inner harmony creates outer authority. The world listens to those who live with purpose and discipline. When your life becomes a reflection of your mission, you no longer need motivation. You are driven from within. That is the kind of power that cannot be faked or borrowed. It is earned through alignment, and it transforms everything you touch. There is a fundamental shift that occurs when you stop seeing life as a series of random events and start embracing it as a path of purpose. You begin to move from reaction to responsibility. You're no longer waiting for clarity to strike like lightning. You're taking ownership of your direction. Living as if you are on a divine mission compels you to treat your time, energy, and influence with seriousness. Everything matters. Every decision becomes a statement of intent. Every action a step in fulfilling your greater assignment. This mindset eliminates the victim mentality. You stop blaming circumstances, other people, or even bad luck for where you are. Instead, you begin to ask, what is this moment trying to teach me? Or, how does this fit into my mission? That perspective is powerful. It shifts your focus from what you can't control to what you can. Your attitude, your work ethic, your values, your responses. Taking responsibility means you become the author of your life, not a character in someone else's script. Living with purpose makes you proactive rather than passive. You don't just chase what feels good or convenient, you pursue what's meaningful even when it's hard. That willingness to carry weight, to stand for something, to push through resistance, is what separates those who drift from those who lead. You may not know exactly what your mission is yet, but taking responsibility for your life is the first step toward discovering it. When you act as though your life has a purpose ordained by something greater, your choices begin to reflect that belief. You stop wasting time, you stop settling, and slowly you begin to shape a life that is not just successful, but significant. Purpose isn't found, it's built through intentional living, one choice at a time. When you move with unwavering belief, the world begins to take notice. People are drawn to certainty. They trust it, follow it, and are often inspired by it. When you act as if you're on a mission from God, your presence changes. You no longer question your worth or your direction. You walk, speak, and lead as if your path is guided and your steps are intentional. That conviction has power. It doesn't just affect how others see you. It transforms how you see yourself. You begin to take bold action not because you're fearless, but because you believe deeply in the importance of what you're doing. The world is filled with noise, distractions, and people chasing validation. But someone who acts from purpose stands out like a lighthouse in a storm. You become a reference point, steady, intentional, and driven. Opportunities are more likely to come your way not because you beg for them, but because people want to be around someone who believes in something greater than themselves. Your confidence becomes contagious. Your clarity becomes influential. This kind of conviction is not arrogance, it's grounded belief. It comes from a place of deep alignment with your values, your mission, and your vision. When you speak, you're not simply sharing opinions. You're speaking from a foundation of lived experience and internal certainty. That energy cannot be faked. It comes from doing the hard work of believing in your mission every day, even when no one else sees it. As you continue to live with this kind of focus, doors begin to open, not magically, but because people respect those who walk with purpose. The world may resist you at first, but eventually it moves to meet your level of conviction. Confidence backed by purpose creates influence. And influence backed by purpose creates change.